everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Overcoming the Wednesday Hump. These videos are designed to do just that, to help you to overcome that midweek Wednesday feeling when you're halfway through the week, your motivation levels are starting to dip and you're asking yourself, how am I going to get through this week? These videos are designed to lift you back up and to give you that motivation and that inspiration to keep driving forward in the direction towards your goals and your dreams for the future. Welcome back to those of you who've been watching my weekly videos, and for those of you who are new to the channel, I welcome you. Please do like the videos and subscribe so that you can receive notifications of when I am releasing these weekly videos so that you don't miss out. Now, in this week's video, I want to talk about the importance of perspective. Your perspective, your outlook on life. Now, in simple terms, perspective is just that. It's the outlook that you have on life. It's the way you interpret situations, and it's often linked to your personality type and the values and the principles that you have. For example, some people say, I'm just a negative person, meaning that they often will interpret things negatively, or they tend to see the glass half empty rather than half full, etc. And it's true, sometimes people do have a tendency to be less optimistic, or to be more negative, or to catastrophize, etc. But you have the power to change your outlook. You have the power to change your perspective. You have the power to recognize that you may be seeing a situation or interpreting a situation in a way that isn't helpful to you, and you can actually then change that and start to see it in a different way. To give you an example to make this make sense, I love to give practical examples. It was raining the other day, and it was raining bad. Like, it was raining for hours, and I was thinking, oh my God, like, why is it raining? And I was getting so frustrated because I had plans, and if I'm honest, I just don't really like the rain. I'm the kind of person who just loves the sun. I love the sun. So anyway, I was getting quite frustrated by the rain, and then a thought came to me that, wow, you know, in some parts of the world where people have drought and they don't have much water, and, you know, their crops are dying out, they would pray and desire so strongly for there to be rain, because rain is linked to their livelihood. Rain is linked to providing for them food so that they and their family members can survive. And so on the one hand, I'm over here in the UK getting frustrated by the rain because I see it as a hindrance, whereas in other parts of the world, the rain is something that is so necessary. I mean, we all need rain in no matter what part of the world that you're in, but in some parts of the world where there is a lack of it, it is something that is so precious and something that people would be so joyful and rejoicing over, whereas I was getting so frustrated and irritated by it. And that's just an example of outlook. It's an example of me having a certain perspective that is influenced by the fact that I just see rain as a hindrance, and in that moment, I wasn't really recognizing any value that it was adding to my life. Whereas for people living in a different context, in a different environment, for them, that rain is something that's so precious. And I like to use this example because it kind of demonstrates the fact that if you look at something from a different perspective, if you analyze something from a different viewpoint, what was once making you so frustrated or irritating you, you can actually start to see it in a different light and not be as frustrated by it, because you recognize that actually this situation isn't as bad as I thought it was. And so this is something that you can apply to your day-to-day living. You know, I'm one of those people that believes that in every challenge, there is a lesson that can be learned. No matter what is happening in your life, whatever you're going through, there is something that you can learn and develop from every single stage of your journey. And when you try to adopt that mindset that even though this is irritating me, even though I don't like this, even though this situation is making me grumpy and miserable and I just want to complain, what can I actually learn from this? What can I actually gain from this? And when you start having that kind of mindset, it helps you to not only get through the situations that frustrate you, but actually you learn, you grow and develop in the process. And that's so important, because life is all about evolution. It's all about our development, our progression, our character becoming stronger, and mindset development. And so it's really important that you practice reflecting on the outlook that you're having for different situations, and where it would be helpful, changing your outlook so that you can more easily get through those challenging situations and learn something in the process. Now, practically speaking, when you're trying to change your perspective, it's not something that just happens overnight. You know, you have to keep practicing doing this. But with all things in life, the more you practice, the better you get. And at first it can feel really unnatural, and it can feel like you're almost being quite fake. For example, if you're frustrated by the long commute to work because of all the traffic, and that puts you in an angry mood every morning if there's lots of traffic every morning, on the first day of driving, if you try to say, okay, I'm going to be positive, I'm not going to get angry, I'm going to see the traffic as an opportunity to reflect or an opportunity to listen to a podcast for longer, etc. Initially, trying to adopt that mentality and have that outlook may feel really weird, and it may feel fake, and it may feel unnatural, and you may just think this is just nonsense. But the more that you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the more you start to see the value. Because the truth is just that if you are on a commute that takes an hour instead of half an hour because of traffic, you could literally see those extra 30 minutes as an extra 30 minutes to listen to a podcast, to gain knowledge, to further develop yourself. But if you don't look at it from that perspective, and you just look at it from a perspective of this is just annoying, it's a waste of time, I'm frustrated, I'm getting angry, you're just heightening yourself emotionally and working yourself up. And that's not going to be healthy. That's not a healthy way for you to start your day when you subsequently get into work. And this is another reason why being able to change your outlook and change your perspective is so important, because it starts to impact your emotional state. When you feel yourself getting angry and irritated, if you can change your perspective, it can then neutralize those emotions, and it can start to give you a deeper feeling of peace. And instead of feeling restless, you begin to feel secure again and stable again, because you recognize that actually this really isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Another practical way that you can help yourself to change your perspective is by recognizing that even though a situation may be less than desirable, there is always somebody else going through something worse. And sometimes I don't always like to use this as an example, because I believe that every single situation is subjective. So if you're irritated by something that compared to somebody else's situation doesn't seem as dismal, doesn't seem as challenging, I don't think that that doesn't make your situation challenging for you, because ultimately we all interpret things differently, and if it bothers you, it bothers you, and that's important. However, I do think that there is some value that you can get from comparing your less than desirable situations with other situations that are worse. For example, if it is raining and I don't have an umbrella, the fact that I know that I can go home to a place where I can change my clothes reminds me that it's really not that bad, compared to if I was in an environment where I didn't have a home to go to change my clothes. You know, being able to reflect and to realize that certain situations are really not as bad as we perceive them to be, it can be really helpful. And another thing I want to say is I really encourage you to practice having an attitude of gratitude. When you can try to be grateful in every situation, when you can try to find a reason to be thankful, a reason to recognize that actually you're pretty blessed, it's really helpful for allowing you to have a positive outlook and allowing you to be able to push through. And even to use myself as an example, sometimes being a doctor can be really challenging. Sometimes you have to stay late, or sometimes you feel overwhelmed, you feel challenged, you know, there are lots of pressures that come with the job. And when I'm having those days where I'm feeling like this is tough and I just feel exhausted, or I'm just like, oh my God, like this is just too much, I always remind myself of why I wanted to be a doctor. I remind myself of the privilege of being a doctor, the opportunity to really intervene in people's lives in such crucial moments and to really make a difference. I remind myself of, you know, the honor that it is and the privilege that it is to be a doctor. I remind myself that there are so many other people that would love to be in my position, and once upon a time I dearly wanted it so badly to be in my position, especially because when I first applied to medical school I got rejected. And so being able to revert back to a place of gratitude for the very situation you're in that may be frustrating you, that can help you to change your outlook, because it reminds you of the fact that even though this is challenging at the moment, even though I'm feeling the pressure, I'm actually really privileged to be in this position. So that's my message for you this week. It's all about perspective. It's all about your outlook. I really hope that this video encouraged you. If you liked what you heard, please do give the video a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.